A night in Italy that leaves you with mixed feelings, but mostly a sense of pride. Bologna 2, Celtic 2, and when you step back and really look at the context, it is hard not to see this as a solid European result. Playing away from home against a side from one of the strongest leagues on the continent, and spending such a long spell with 10 men, this was a performance that showed fight, organization, and a bit of backbone that has been missing at times. Some folk have thrown the word heroic around, and maybe that feels a touch strong for a draw, but there were moments late on where the defending, the blocks, and the sheer effort did feel massive. Before kickoff, most supporters would have taken a point from this fixture without much hesitation. Celtic's record away from home in Europe has been a talking point for years, so to come to Italy and leave with something on the board matters. There will still be that slight frustration because the game was there for the taking, especially after going 2 goals up. But football does not exist in a vacuum. Context is everything, and the context here is a team that had to dig incredibly deep. Celtic actually started the match in a way that surprised a lot of people. There was no sense of sitting back and hoping to survive the opening exchanges. The press was aggressive, the intent was clear, and it paid off almost immediately. A mistake at the back from Bologna, forced by pressure, gifted Celtic the opening goal. The composure to take advantage of that moment was important, and it set the tone for what followed. That early goal seemed to give the players belief that they could hurt Bologna, not just frustrate them. There were signs in those opening minutes that Celtic were willing to be brave on the ball. Instead of recycling possession endlessly at the back, there was a desire to move forward quickly and with purpose. A couple of early chances followed, including a moment that required a brilliant save from the Bologna goalkeeper. Those were the moments where you felt that, with just a bit more quality or a bit more luck, Celtic could have been out of sight far earlier than anyone expected. As Bologna settled into the game, their quality began to show. They pressed high, moved the ball well, and started to find pockets of space, particularly through the middle. Celtic's midfield came under pressure, and turnovers in dangerous areas invited trouble. Even so, the defensive unit stood firm. There was a sense of organization and calm that has not always been there in European matches, especially away from home. The turning point of the game arrived before half-time with the sending off that left Celtic down to 10 men. It was a moment of poor judgment that completely changed the task in front of the team. Playing with a man less in Italy against opponents who are comfortable by dominating possession, it is about as difficult as it gets. From that point on, the game became less about controlling play and more about surviving long spells without the ball. What makes the performance stand out is that even after going down to 10 men, Celtic still managed to score again. Going 2 goals up in those circumstances felt huge, almost unreal. It gave the team something to protect, but it also invited relentless pressure. Bologna responded as expected, pushing numbers forward and testing the defense with crosses, shots from distance, and constant movement around the box. The second half was largely about resilience. Bologna eventually found their way back into the match, and when the equalizer went in, there was a familiar sinking feeling. Too often in Europe, Celtic have conceded goals in quick succession and collapsed under pressure. This time, that collapse never came. Instead, the players regrouped, tightened up, and showed a level of discipline that has been questioned in the past. The defending in the final stages was immense. Blocks were thrown in, headers were won, and players who are not known primarily for their defensive work chipped in wherever they could. It was not pretty and it was not comfortable, but it was effective. Every clearance was met with encouragement, every challenge celebrated like a goal. You could see how much it meant to the players to hold on. There were individual performances that stood out, particularly at the back. The centre-backs were outstanding, dealing with wave after wave of pressure and refusing to be bullied. The full-backs showed real determination, tracking runners and standing up to tricky wingers who caused problems throughout the night. Even the goalkeeper, despite conceding twice, produced important saves that kept Celtic in the contest when the momentum was swinging heavily in Bologna's favour. When the final whistle went, the reaction from the Celtic players told its own story. There was relief, yes, but also genuine satisfaction. They knew they had been tested, they knew they had suffered, and they knew they had come through it together. This was not a lucky point stolen at the death. It was a point earned through hard work, sacrifice, and a collective refusal to fold. In terms of the bigger picture, this result keeps Celtic right on the edge of qualification. Being in the final qualifying position means everything is still in their own hands going into the next European night. Win the next match, and progression is secured. Simple as that. There is pressure in that scenario, but there is also clarity, and sometimes that is exactly what a team needs. Beyond the numbers and the table, this performance felt important for confidence. It showed that Celtic can be organised away from home, that they can absorb pressure, and that they can compete physically and mentally against strong opposition. Those are qualities that will be needed not just in Europe, but domestically as well, especially with big fixtures coming up on a tight schedule. The challenge now is to take this feeling into the next games. Recovery will be crucial, both physically and mentally, because the effort put in here was enormous. If Celtic can replicate the same level of commitment and focus, there is no reason why this result cannot be the start of something more consistent. The belief gained from surviving a night like this in Italy could be worth just as much as the point itself, right? Picking up from where we left off, the story of the night in Italy is not just about a point. It's about how Celtic handled themselves under intense pressure. Going 2-0 up with 10 men is something that would have crushed lesser sides, but Celtic didn't buckle. The way the team regrouped after conceding the second goal showed maturity and discipline that has been absent in previous European nights. Each player knew their role, understood the need to dig in, and executed it with grit and determination. It was a demonstration of collective spirit, something that Martin O'Neill has been cultivating since he took charge, and it was evident in every block, every header, and every clearance made in the closing stages of the match. The atmosphere on the pitch was tense, and you could feel it in the way the players communicated. Even when Bologna were pressing hard, the defenders were talking, guiding each other into position, and making themselves available for passes out of danger. The midfield, despite being down a man, worked tirelessly to intercept balls, close spaces, and provide cover for the back line. The cohesion across the team was noticeable, and it's one of those nights that reinforces the idea that football is often won not just by skill, but by organisation and heart. The unity of the squad was tested, and it passed with flying colours. Austin Trusty and Liam Scales were standout figures dealing with constant threats from Bologna's forwards. Their timing, positioning, and communication were key factors in keeping the score level. Trusty, in particular, epitomised the team's spirit, throwing himself into tackles and blocks with relentless determination. It was a reminder of how important leadership at the back can be, especially when the team is under pressure. And it wasn't just the defenders. The likes of Kieran Tierney and Callum McGregor put in shifts that were equally crucial, tracking runners, covering spaces, and making sure that Bologna didn't find the gaps that might have broken Celtic's resolve. Even with the challenges posed by Bologna, Celtic managed to create chances in the second half, albeit fewer than in the opening exchanges. The attacks were quicker, sharper, and more purposeful, showing that the team had not given up on trying to score. The quality of the finishing and decision-making might have lacked a bit at times, but the intent was clear. When you play away in Europe with 10 men, being able to transition from defense to attack with any level of efficiency is commendable, and Celtic managed it more than once. The balance between defense and attack, especially in such a testing scenario, is a delicate one, but they handled it admirably. The goalkeeper also deserves credit for a series of important saves, many of which were crucial in preventing Bologna from taking control. Despite conceding twice, he was involved in moments that kept the team in the game, standing tall when it mattered most. It's those interventions, the ones that don't always get the headlines, that can define a European point. Each save, each command of the area, each decision under pressure contributed to Celtic leaving Italy with something tangible. It's also worth noting how the squad adapted to being a man down. Tactical adjustments were made, and players who might usually have more freedom found themselves in different roles, covering spaces, tracking runners, and supporting each other. It's easy to underestimate the mental side of this adjustment, but it's huge. Staying composed and executing a game plan when you're a man down, especially against technically proficient opposition, is no small feat. The ability of Celtic to adjust and respond to the challenge speaks volumes about both the players and the management. Bologna were dangerous, no doubt, particularly with their right winger, who caused problems throughout the game. He was direct, tricky, and a constant threat in the first half. Celtic's defenders had to be alert at all times, and while he did manage to score, the way the team contained him for large portions of the game was impressive. It was a lesson in concentration, positioning, and resilience. The team defended collectively, never leaving anyone isolated, and that collective approach made the difference between a potential collapse and a hard-earned point. The result also sets up an important scenario going forward in the Europa League. Celtic remain in a position where progression is still in their hands, and that clarity is crucial. A win in the next match guarantees advancement, which takes a lot of pressure off other factors. It allows the team to focus on their own performance, knowing that they control their destiny. Confidence is a fragile thing, and getting this point in this way can be a catalyst for belief across the squad. The psychological impact of surviving a tough away fixture like this should not be underestimated. Recovery and preparation for upcoming matches will be key. The physical and mental demands of this performance were high, and the squad will need to recharge to ensure they are ready for the next challenge. There are big domestic fixtures coming up, and the ability to transfer the fight and organization shown in Italy into other matches will be vital. If Celtic can maintain this level of intensity, resilience, and cohesion, they will be a tough side to beat, both in Europe and at home. Looking ahead, the importance of fresh legs and strategic substitutions cannot be overstated. The game highlighted areas where players may need rest or rotation, and the introduction of new personnel at key moments will be critical to sustaining performance. Martin O'Neill has a track record of making bold calls in these situations, and it will be interesting to see how he manages the balance between experience and freshness in the coming weeks. The next set of fixtures will test Celtic's depth, their tactical flexibility, and their ability to handle pressure, and lessons from this night in Bologna will be invaluable in guiding those decisions. Celtic's performance in Italy was more than just a point on the board. It was a statement. It showed that even under adversity, the team can stay composed, work together, and secure a result that keeps their European aspirations alive. It reinforced the importance of discipline, organization, and mental strength, and it highlighted the contributions of individuals willing to go above and beyond for the team. Nights like this can define a season, not just in terms of points, but in terms of belief, unity, and resilience. If Celtic can carry forward the spirit, the fight, and the organization shown here, the next European fixture will be approached with confidence and focus. There is much work still to do, but the lessons learned in Italy provide a blueprint for how to compete under pressure. The team knows now that they can face a difficult challenge, survive it, and come away with something tangible. And that is invaluable experience for any squad competing on multiple fronts. Every block, tackle, and clearance will stay in the minds of the players as proof that they are capable of achieving results against tough opposition. The unity and determination displayed will be a benchmark for what is required in future matches. Celtic have proven they can rise to the occasion, and that belief is priceless as they look ahead to more high-stakes European nights and crucial domestic battles. Before we proceed, subscribe to our channel and enable notifications to receive all exclusive news about Celtic FC. Don't miss any details about your favorite team. It's extremely important for Celtic FC fans. In what's already sending ripples through the Scottish Premiership, whispers around Glasgow hint at a potential seismic shift in the Celtic backline. Ben Godfrey, the towering defender, known for his blend of raw strength and lightning pace, has reportedly been linked with a move that could redefine the Hoops' defensive ambitions. Sources close to the club suggest that talks have advanced to a stage where Godfrey's signature is tantalizingly close to being secured, though nothing has been officially confirmed. The Englishman has long been admired for his ability to patrol the back four with an almost uncanny balance of aggression and agility. At 25, Godfrey brings a combination of physical presence and tactical intelligence that many pundits argue the Celtic defense has been lacking in recent seasons. While the Hoops have traditionally been resilient at home, their vulnerability in high-press scenarios and against rapid counterattacks has been noted by rivals. Godfrey's pace, in particular, could be a game-changer when dealing with the Premiership's fleet-footed forwards. Speculation suggests that Celtic see Godfrey not merely as a short-term solution, but as a cornerstone for their long-term defensive strategy. Fans are already dreaming of a backline capable of blending Scottish grit with Premier League-honed technique. Some insiders hint that manager Ange Postecoglou's interest in dynamic, ball-playing defenders aligns perfectly with Godfrey's profile, potentially allowing the Hoops to play a higher line while retaining defensive solidity. Of course, the potential transfer isn't without its question marks. Godfrey's adaptability to the Scottish game remains untested, and there's speculation over whether the financial package on offer meets the player's expectations. Yet, the mere possibility of seeing the England international donning the green and white hoops has stirred the imaginations of supporters, sparking debates in forums, pubs, and social media alike. As the chatter continues, one thing seems certain. Celtic's defensive plans could be on the cusp of a significant evolution. If Godfrey does make the move, the Premiership might be in for a season where the Hoops backline not only withstands attacks, but does so with a blend of sheer force and electric pace rarely seen north of the border. Whether this is speculation or the precursor to one of the most talked about signings in recent memory, only time will tell. But the rumor alone has already got the Celtic faithful dreaming. Hello fan, don't forget to like and subscribe to the channel, as it means a lot to Celtic FC. Also, share your opinion about the news in the comments below. See you in the next video.